Hi, my name's Kurt, and welcome to 7 Best Things. Today we're going to be counting down the 7 best scenes in one of the greatest superhero movies of all time, Spider-Man 2. Alright, let's go. Number 7, Pizza Time. In this perfect but unexpected opening scene, we don't see Spider-Man stopping a bank robbery or defeating a supervillain. No, in this opening scene, we see Spider-Man deliver a pizza. This sets up everything we need to know about Peter Parker's life since the first movie. From this scene, we know 4 important facts about Peter's life. First off, he's late. He's always late. He is never on time. Spider-Man always makes him late, and now he's got 7.5 minutes to go 42 blocks. Second, he's still a nerd. He may be a radioactively powered superhero with super strength and super agility, but he's still a nerd. He's not riding some cool motorcycle, he's riding a moped, and he's delivering pizzas. Third, he's still a hero. Spider-Man is always a hero. First and foremost, he is going to save people's lives, and here he takes time to be Spider-Man and save 2 innocent kids from being hit by a bus. This is going to make him late once again. And that brings up number 4. He can't win. There is no way to be both Spider-Man and Peter Parker at the same time. The pizzas are late, Peter gets fired, and the crowning touch, his Joe's Pizza sticker is ripped off his bike helmet. The first scene is a fun and funny way to start this amazing sequel. Number 6, the bank robbery. The scene starts with Aunt May and Peter at the bank. Aunt May cannot get her house refinanced. Her new Super Saver account can't even get a free toaster. Yes, that is Joel McHale from Community as the loan officer who ends up getting kicked by Aunt May and then slapped by Aunt May. Now, one of the important rules of comic books is that no main character in a comic book can ever go to a bank unless it's about to be robbed. And that's what happens here. Sure enough, Doc Ock shows up and rips off the bank vault door, almost hitting Aunt May. Peter runs off, making Aunt May wonder. I love Doc Ock using his arms to casually throw the security across the bank and then using one of his arms to take his hat off. Spider-Man shows up and the fight begins. Of course, the vault is full of gold coins. Gold coins are flying everywhere. Ock tries to escape and he uses a hostage. And of course, the hostage is Aunt May. Spider-Man battles Doc Ock on the side of the building with Aunt May in the middle in a fun fight scene. And it's Aunt May that gets to deliver the most important punch with her trusty umbrella. Next time you watch this scene, keep your eye on Rosemary Harris. She's funny at the beginning. And I think, based on how she looks at Spider-Man, I think this is when she figures out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Number 5, the finale. The finale of Spider-Man 2 is visually brilliant at the warehouse with the miniature sun growing and tearing up that warehouse piece by piece, nearly pulling Mary Jane into that fiery vortex as Peter struggles to save her. The visuals are brilliant, but the screenplay is equally brilliant. Spider-Man does not defeat Doc Ock by beating him up. It's not Spider-Man who saves the day. Rather, it's Peter Parker who saves the day by talking to, not Doc Ock, but Dr. Octavius, his friend. Peter takes off his mask and uses every bit of wisdom that he's learned from Aunt May and Uncle Ben to remind Otto of who he really is. Octavius listens to Peter, gets control of himself, and he decides he's not going to die a monster. It is Dr. Octavius who makes the sacrifice play and ultimately saves New York. Peter wins the day, not with fists and webs, but with his words and with his heart. And, oh yeah, he finally gets the girl. Number 4, Spider-Man No More. Peter's struggle is not just against Doc Ock. Peter's greatest struggle is with Spider-Man himself. It starts with the planetarium. Peter has the worst night of his life at the planetarium. Mary Jane tells him he's an empty seat. His best friend Harry slaps him twice. Then he finds out that Mary Jane is engaged to J. Jonah Jameson's son. And he has to take their picture. On the way home, his powers start to fail. His webbing doesn't work. He can't climb walls. Sitting on his bed, in his mind and in his conscience, Peter has a conversation with Uncle Ben, back in the car where they had their last conversation in front of the library. They also have the same clothes on from that scene in the previous movie, which is a nice touch. And it is so great to have Cliff Robertson back as Uncle Ben, reminding Peter, with great power comes great responsibility. He asks Peter to take his hand, to trust him, and still be the hero he's meant to be. But Peter's not having it. He refuses to take Uncle Ben's hand and tells Uncle Ben he's just Peter Parker. He is SpiderMan No More. Then, of course, we have that iconic frame from Amazing Spider-Man number 50, the Spider-Man suit in the garbage can. It was amazing seeing that classic comic book panel come to life on the screen. Then Raimi does something really unexpected and delightful. We hear the sounds of B.J. Thomas singing "Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head," and it's followed by a hilarious montage of Peter having the perfect non-Spider-Man day. Peter walks, Peter trips, Peter fixes his moped, Peter eats a hot dog. Peter is doing his best to give up his great power and his great responsibility, and all the while doing his best to ignore the sirens and the cries for help all around him. Number 3, Aunt May's pep talk. Without Spider-Man, New York is suffering. Crime is up 75%. People are getting mugged in the streets. People are dying in fires that used to be saved by Spider-Man. As Peter ponders this, something unexpected happens. Ursula comes in and offers him some chocolate cake. They don't talk, there's no meaningful dialogue, they just eat cake. But this seems to be a turning point for Peter. That small, unexpected act of kindness leads Peter down a different path. Then he goes to see Aunt May. She's packing up her house with the help of Henry Jackson, and Aunt May does 2 really important things for Peter. First, she forgives Peter. When Peter tries to apologize about Uncle Ben, she answers, "Pish-posh. Nothing more needs to be said." One of the great themes in Raimi's trilogy is the power of forgiveness and mercy, and Aunt May is the embodiment of those qualities. The second thing May does is give Peter a much-needed pep talk. This time it's Aunt May, not Uncle Ben, sharing her wisdom and advice, and I think this might be Rosemary Harris's best scene in the trilogy. I think it's clear by the way she looks at Peter that she knows he's Spider-Man, although she doesn't let on. She gives an inspiring speech to Peter about the need for heroes in the world today, heroes that boys like Henry Jackson can look up to. She tells Peter, there's a hero in all of us. And she inspires Peter to try to be Spider-Man again, no matter what the cost. Number 2, the coffee shop. Now we come to a scene that's so good they used it as the teaser trailer in 2004. I remember seeing this scene in the movie theaters. It blew me away then. It still blows me away now. This might be my favorite scene between MJ and Peter in the whole trilogy. MJ wants to know what Peter's true feelings are. She asks him point blank, "Do you love me?" I like how Peter hesitates. And when he hesitates, MJ doesn't give up, doesn't get frustrated, doesn't quit. She knows Peter's in love with her, and she's not going to let Peter get away with any excuses. She finally asks him to kiss her. Peter's reluctance melts away, and he's about to kiss her when this happens. That's right. Doc Ock throws a car through the window. Peter reacts instinctively, saving MJ and dodging the car. It is a spectacular visual, a stunning piece of work by Sam Raimi. Doc Ock throws Peter against the wall, buries him under the rubble, and takes Mary Jane. Peter bursts out of the rubble, his strength restored. He drops his glasses and makes a fist. Spider-Man is back. Number 1, the train battle. The train battle is almost universally recognized as Sam Raimi's masterpiece, and you will not get an argument from me. It might be the greatest scene in any superhero movie. The stakes are high, and the action is intense. It begins with Spidey swinging through the city for a showdown with Doc Ock, and in a beautiful Sam Raimi shot, the camera pulls back to show that it's a reflection in Ock's sunglasses. They fight, they fall off a clock tower, and they end up on top of a speeding train. Spider-Man has to use all of his speed, all of his agility, and all of his wits in fighting off Ock and his mechanical arms. Peter dives through a bridge, clings to the side of the train, bends backwards to nearly avoid an oncoming train, and when Ock throws him off, he skis on the street behind the train. It's exciting stuff. At that point, Doc Ock changes his strategy. He starts throwing innocent people off the train, forcing Peter to catch them, which he does. Now, why does he do this? Well, this is actually great writing. Remember, Ock wants Peter alive. And he's so smart. He's not trying to kill Peter. He's just trying to tire him out so he can take him to Harry. Peter gets tired. Ock's mechanical arms do not. He disables the brakes, he throws the train into high speed and forces Peter to save the train. He's not trying to kill him. He just wants to exhaust him. What might be Peter's best moment, he takes off his mask and puts himself at the front of the train, webbing everything he can, holding on for dear life, sacrificing his body to save the passengers. He stops the train, but it takes everything he has, and Peter collapses. He's about to fall off the front of the train, but the passengers catch him and bring him back into the train. They lay Peter on the floor of the train, and it's right then that the brave people of New York realize what we know but we sometimes forget. He's just a kid. Yes, he's powerful. Yes, he's heroic. But when all is said and done, he's just a kid. And when he needs help, it's the people of New York who help him out. When Ock comes to get him, the brave people of New York stand in his way. Peter is doing exactly what Aunt May said he would do. He brings out the hero in all of us. That is why this is the best scene in Spider-Man 2 and maybe the best scene in any superhero movie. What do you think? Well, that's all I've got. What are your favorite scenes from Spider-Man 2? Let me know in the comments below. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe, and if you get a chance, check out some of these other videos. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.